It should come as no surprise to anyone in the Melee community when I say that Team Liquid's Hungrybox is really freaking good. I mean, he's been the #1 player on SSBM's top 100 ranking since 2017. He's one of the only Jigglypuff players in the world able to win on a consistent basis, and speaking of winning, of the 19 tournaments he attended this year, he placed first at 12 of them. 12! That's not a 63% win game rate, that's a 63% win tournament rate. Of those 7 tournaments where Hungrybox didn't get first, one was a 7th place finish at Genesis Black, a one-day, 175 entrant regional tournament over in Pomona, California. But something was different about this event. Something felt off. Oh yeah, HBox wasn't playing Puff. He also didn't enter under his usual tag. This guy is not Hungrybox. This is Genghis Juan. And for this entire tournament, he played mostly Fox and Sheik. And he got 7th place. How the fuck did he get 7th place? So the TLDR of this whole situation was that HBox had a sub goal on his Twitch stream to play characters other than Puff at this event. He reached it, so HBox entered Genesis Black as Genghis Juan, and for the entire tournament, he played his secondary characters, which were predominantly Fox and Sheik. We'll be pulling some examples from a couple of Juan's Fox sets in top 32 leading up to top 8, Juan vs Null and Juan vs Eddie Mexico. Juan Sheik saw some of the spotlight in his set versus Lucky, where he was sent to losers, but he did take Lucky to game 5, which is still super impressive. What's funny about watching HBox approach these matchups is how similar they all look, even though his list of opponents here included 2 Foxes and a Luigi. Juan plays these sets almost exactly how he'd play Puff, a bait and punish style of gameplay with a heavy emphasis on reacting to his opponents. The only difference is, well, of course, his character. One of the big benefits on Juan's side when he does switch characters is that the way that he'll play defense won't change all that much. How you use your character's specific tools to avoid offense may vary across the cast, sure, but your game sense and matchup knowledge doesn't suddenly disappear when you switch to a secondary. Once you're actually getting comboed in Melee, only a few things matter. Your position relative to the stage or the blast zone, your DI, and how you try to get out of the combo to re-establish neutral, or at the very least, remove yourself from disadvantage. Speaking of DI, Juan's SDI is actually unbelievable. I mean, look at this.
Danger.
What the fuck is happening?
The downers, though, that's gonna be his undoing if he keeps going for those.
What the hell is that DI?
Come on! Counterlogic Gaming's Tafo sums this up pretty well on Twitter, saying, HBox's Puff knowledge transfers into his other characters with good aerial drifts, solid vertical spacing, immaculate SCI/defense, keen awareness of enemy character limitations with respect to spacing, and back air. Almost everything Juan is doing can be looked at through the lens of a Puff player. He's spamming Fox Bear, he's aerial drifting like a madman, and he's picking his spots near perfect every time. It's incredibly refined game sense under the guise of play that almost looks like he's figuring his character out as he goes, which can kinda look sloppy at times, but don't be fooled, it's just also insanely fucking good. I mean, I've seen some HBox plays that almost come out of nowhere and don't even look like they make sense, but when it comes to a player like HBox, when it looks like he's taking a gamble, or a guess, or figuring it out as he goes, it's mostly just a much higher level of game sense that I'm certainly not capable of reaching as a player. He already has a strong read on what his opponent wants to do before they even do anything, and if he's not quite there on the first guess, it's noted and it's used as data to make the following guesses more and more precise. Let's look at Juan's first stock versus Null as an example. Null is the 11th ranked player on the SoCal Melee Power Rankings, and he's taken a number of pretty notable wins, including some over Captain Face Roll, Fiction, and Westballs. So while his bigger wins may not be on floaty players, Null's playing a Fox Ditto here versus Juan, a matchup he's certainly comfortable in. Null hits an unsafe up smash on Juan's shield, and Juan wave dashes out of shield into a grab. Juan hits a pretty free up throw up smash, and instead of pressuring off stage, he just stands in place and waits for Null's option. Null illusions to the side platform, which lets Juan tack on more damage via a bear, and Null hits the tech on the platform, which allows him to grab the ledge. Again, Juan just waits, this time around Null's get-up roll range, and uses a couple up tilts. The first which would cover the roll from the ledge, and the second in anticipation of an aggressive option to regain stage control. Juan double jumps, and Null drifts so far right that the only move Juan can connect with is a fair. Juan falls off the right platform and doesn't even try to use a second aerial to extend the sequence, choosing again to wait for Null to exhaust a resource. Null uses a jump and tries to fall down with an up air to contest the stage, but Juan punishes with a second fair. Null is now without a jump and is forced to either Firefox or Illusion to return to stage. He elects the former, and Juan charges an F smash to try to cover the straight ahead and sweet spot options. Null goes high and resets neutral with slight disadvantage. After a short skirmish, Juan knocks Null off the left side of battlefield and is in edgeguard position for a second time. Yet again, Juan doesn't overextend and he just waits for Null to return to stage. Null ledge dashes and Juan bears him off the right side as his invincibility ends. Here, Juan feints to the ledge to scare Null away from the sweet spot and double jump back airs to cover a straight ahead Firefox, but Null just misses the ledge on his angle, which results in a lost stock. Everything about this sequence felt like it had layers. Juan plays patiently to allow his opponent to make mistakes, and he takes note of any bad habits that may be forming. Here, even in the very first stock of this set, Juan catches Null opting for preemptive options multiple times. The early illusion to side platform, the wave dash into Juan's second up tilt, the bear on Null's ledge dash. Everything on Juan's side is calculated and controlled, even when he's playing Fox. It's like Juan just knows how players can react when they get antsy, so all he has to do is whiff punish accordingly. And in the situations where he can't punish his opponent, Juan literally just waits until another opportunity presents itself. Again, it looks like a guess, but it all builds on itself to create the outplay. Maybe it's not the most clean Fox play, and it's certainly not that traditional for the character, but like we said in our last episode on Mango, there's absolutely nothing wrong with going for the safe, not flashy option. It's this style of regimented gameplay which allows HBox to translate his puff knowledge to a higher tempo character like Fox, and it's his discipline and mental game which gives him the edge in these scenarios. I think this style of bait and punish helps him immensely when he transitions to a less familiar character for a tournament setting, since he can rely on strong neutral, spacing, and defense to find his openings and generate leads. Just like when he's on Puff, Juan plays best when he can pick his opponent's mistakes apart and make them regret their move selections. He considers his playstyle like whiteout, existing to highlight his opponent's errors and punish them off reaction. However, this playstyle can become tough to sustain when his opponents minimize their mistakes.
If you make an error, I fix it, or I mark it out every single time. I highlight your error and I punish you for it. But I always say if my opponent makes no errors, I can't beat them. So it's never about what I'm doing. I play always off my opponent. They determine whether they lose or not. I'm there to give them the W or take the L.
It doesn't really seem like he cares that much about percents either when he's on Fox, which, according to some Fox mains, is arguably one of the most important things to pay attention to when you're playing Fox. But there's still some great general decision making going on here regardless, which carries him throughout the set. Take this up smash for instance. Juan sees that Null goes for a get up attack after missing the tech here. HBox slightly charges an up smash and just lets it rip. Now some Fox mains may assume that wouldn't kill here, but let's just examine this decision a bit more. Our netplay gurus in the comments would be right in saying that an up smash would have almost no shot of killing here, if it were uncharged. I mean, Null would have to hold all the way left for an uncharged hit to KO him off the left side. But let's see exactly how long he charges this up smash for. Fox's up smash charge frame begins on frame 2, so he holds the animation here for 11 frames. Assuming Null doesn't DI the hit, this charge window just barely misses a guaranteed kill at 80%. However, if HBox held the charge for just 3 more frames, it would be a guaranteed kill at almost all trajectory DI angles, except for a few angles around left diagonal down and left diagonal up. But even these survival DI angles would put Null in an unfavorable position, as we saw in the remainder of the sequence. Now, I'm not quite sure if HBox would have known that an up smash held for 14 frames would kill a Fox on battlefield at 80% with most DI choices, so maybe it wasn't completely intentional. But regardless of whether or not Juan knew how close that up smash would have been from ending the game, I think this speaks volumes to Juan's capability as a player. If we look at his usual Jigglypuff pick, we'll see interactions like these all the time, where it's close enough that the interaction will either result in complete advantage to HBox, or just enough advantage where he's still able to pick the pieces up later on. This wasn't even the only time in this very sequence where Juan takes lines that are a toss-up on whether or not he'll get the kill. Just after the up smash, Juan baits Null into a falling aerial and catches him with an up air, which at this positioning actually required some good SDI from Null to live. Then Null gets whacked with a forward smash at 126, which is also a guaranteed kill if Null doesn't DI the hit at all. And then Juan finally cleans up the stock with a ledge jump back air, which could just as easily set up for another opening even if Juan got the weak hit here. A good parallel to this is how HBox elects to edgeguard Marth as Jigglypuff, and we've seen this specifically in a few sets versus Zane, where Hungrybox mixes up his edgeguards on a Marth that returns to stage by using Sing into a follow-up rather than just a straight-up rest. This can come down to just a risk versus reward breakdown, where the risk of missing the rest and being punished far outweighs the eventual reward HBox will get in taking the stock. He knows that even if he messes up, situations like these still put him in advantage state, and he'll still be able to get the stock with enough attempts. Under the right circumstances, Juan's up smash could have killed Null outright, but it instead put him in a favorable position to take the stock after just a few more execution tests. And to be honest, a few more execution tests don't really matter all that much as long as you don't get punished for it, and with defense as strong as Hungrybox's, that doesn't happen too often. I also just want to comment on the neutral Juan played right before this up smash real quick. Juan bears Null 5 times before getting this up smash. That's it. I have no analysis for that. Just bear, I guess. But speaking of bear, we also see Genghis Juan use large hitboxes like bear coupled with full hops to control a ton of space, and it's used to incredible effect in his set versus Eddie Mexico. IBDW comments on this in an analysis of this set, but Luigi fundamentally has no aerial mobility, so Eddie is limited to approaching from the ground. Cody comments that Juan plays this matchup as Fox very appropriately by shielding and preventing the Luigi from getting in by controlling the ground game. Full hops also come into great effect here as well by essentially invalidating Luigi's approach options. But possibly most importantly, some of the ways that Juan elects to edgeguard a Luigi are insanely smart, and we can look at this stock as an example. Juan knocks Eddie Mexico off the right side of Fountain of Dreams with a traded back air from center. Eddie begins the recovery with a fireball to cover the ledge, but Juan turns around, light shields, and slides to ledge. He's essentially using a Marth killer to turn Eddie's decision to projectile against him, and it's insanely smart because with Eddie exhausting a jump relatively in line with the ledge, Luigi has almost zero options to successfully recover. In fact, almost every option he does have at this point can be scouted and responded to. A missile attempt would probably just kill him, but Juan can shine it. An air dodge possibly brings Eddie back to stage, but at severe disadvantage. Trying to aerial the ledge won't work and will put Eddie too low to recover, and an up B just gets him hit or edge guarded. So in all honesty, as soon as Eddie's fireball gets countered, the recovery is over before it even starts. Juan's positioning puts him in such an immense advantage that all it takes is a simple back air to close out the stock, and he has so much time to do it with how he set up his positioning at the ledge. I also really like the small turnaround Juan does before light shielding the fireball. Now, I know you need to be facing towards the stage to Marth Killer and grab the ledge, but I think the implication of Juan putting his back to Eddie says a lot about how he uses tricky movement to disguise multiple options. Again, we see this a ton when HBox is playing Puff in a combination of empty hops, tomahawks, and super ambiguous aerial drift to make his opponent think he's committing to a single option, when in all reality he has a few concepts set up and ready to go. The best example I can think of off the top of my head is HBox's empty hop into turnaround grab, and it's also one where he uses his character's orientation to force his opponent into mistakes. HBox will tend to land with his back facing his opponent, which tends to heavily suggest a falling aerial. So his opponent will shield in preparation for the hit, but he'll just land with the empty hop, turn around, and get a grab. This builds on itself throughout games because if his opponent starts to expect the tomahawk grab, HBox will just straight up hit them or do something else to further condition them. In this case, turning his back led to a pretty unique Luigi edgeguard, but the implication of another bear or shine or just about anything can still linger in Eddie's head throughout the sequence. It's insanely high level play, and I still have moments when I watch Hungrybox where I feel like he's just a complete mind reader because he's conditioned his opponents so damn hard that they just play the way he wants. Hungrybox is the crux of consistency. He's a player that you just expect to win because of that insane first place statistic I mentioned earlier, but even when he doesn't take home the W, he's almost always hitting top 8. HBox will have off performances every now and again like everybody does, and he may not win every single tournament he attends, but that's okay. The 2 through 5 spots on 2019's MPG are Wizrobe, Axe, Leffen, and Mango. All of these players are certainly feared opponents, yes, but when it comes to the total package of who the biggest tournament threat is by the time this year ends, and perhaps even through 2020, I think Hungrybox is going to be in a class of his own. Genghis Juan is a wolf in sheep's clothing, or in this case, a puff in fox clothing. I think a 7th place finish at Genesis Black using a Puff's vision of Fox and a Puff's vision of Sheik should be more than enough evidence to push the haters back. This guy is number 1 for a reason. His talent is undeniable, and even at a smaller event like this, Hungrybox just shows us how well a top player's skill translates across characters. For most Smash players, they simply can't survive facing off against Hungrybox. So when those players take their humble losses to the number 1 player in the world, they can now say that it wasn't just another Puff player that handed them that loss. It was a Fox and Sheik player too. Thank you so much for watching this episode, and hopefully you saw the full top 8 for Genesis Black. It was a super entertaining event, so if you haven't checked it out yet, I'll leave a link to the stream in the description. This show and channel are supported by Patreon. If you want to be a channel producer, please check the link out and take advantage of some of the perks you can get through your patronage, like thumbnails, video scripts, sneak peeks / behind the scenes, and your name in the credits. Speaking of which, I'd like to give a special thanks to our Tier 5 patron from November, Caillou. Caillou asked me to give his friend PD a shout out with the question, did she make it? Well, I'm not exactly sure what that meant, but hopefully PD watches this video because I definitely want to know the answer and the context to that. As for me, things are going to get a bit busy with the holidays coming up, but there's a lot of cool content in the works. Expect to see a holiday special of Netplay and Chill in the next few days, and for anyone who follows me on Instagram, I'm going to be doing a sort of end-of-the-year edit for some of the IRL camera stuff I've been doing on the side. Gonna be working on some follow-up episodes for our new series Training Mode, whose first installment dropped just the other day, and I'm planning out a possible SSBM year in review montage, as well as another installment of 100 combos for 2019's MPGR rankings. For long term, we're looking at a new frame data episode, as well as an Origins piece. Probably won't be able to get those out before we ring in the new year, but I'll share some updates on my Discord, along with some sneak peeks to upcoming stuff for our Patreon group. So as always, we have a lot coming up in the future, and I'm always excited to push it out for you guys. Until next time, I'm turndownforwalt. Thanks again for watching. Have a very happy holiday if you do that sort of thing, and we'll see you in 2020.